Okay, hello everyone. Welcome back. Today we have Ben Blackman with us. He's the owner of One Focus Marketing and the host of the Facebook Ads with a Twang podcast. He specializes in helping relationship coaches, health coaches, and life coaches through seven figures. And today he'll talk to us all about Facebook Ads retargeting. Hello, Ben. The stage is yours.
How are you?
Doing great. Thank you.
Now you know why I call it Facebook Ads with the Twang podcast. So
that's right.
And by the way, that podcast is only 10 minutes. Each episode's only 10 minutes, and I do that so that because if I didn't, I would I just keep talking and talking and talking, and I would never shut up. So I make them really short.
10 minutes is just perfect.
I know it. If you listen to them on double speed, you can get through them, all of them, in a couple of days. So there you go.
Great. And you have a PowerPoint today to share with us?
Yeah. And if it's not too much trouble, I just wanted to kind of give you guys a little bit of background. Okay. If that's not too much trouble, just so you can kind of know where this all kind of came from before I get too far into it. And it's not going to be a history lesson. At least I hope it's not a history lesson.
That'd be a great start.
Yeah. So when I first started doing ads, I actually did them back when, before Google was really around, like when Overture was still there and they started doing ads there. That's when I very first started doing ads. And then Google came to, to play, and Google AdWords came out. And I totally stumbled onto this by accident. Like I wasn't doing it because that's what I wanted to do. I had another business, and that business, I decided, techie things seemed fun to me. So I started running some ads, and back then you could run anything. I mean, you could run any kind of ad and it would just work. Right.
Right.
And that's what happened. So this myth kind of grew around where I live that I knew how to do ads, Google ads. And so people started hiring me to do it. Well, when Facebook ads came around, same thing happened. Right. And so the difference is that when I first started doing Facebook ads, as opposed to some people did, but most people had no idea about retargeting and how important retargeting is. And so I started doing that. Well, in the beginning, you couldn't really retarget like you can now, but I knew it was coming. Like I knew that was the progression. And you can see that retargeting is the key to really making ad campaigns work. And so I learned that from the first days I was doing Google ads, and back then before we could do any retargeting, and I kind of grew into it. So I've kind of seen the progression from not being able to do it at all to being able to do what we can do today. So it's pretty crazy, but it's also really good. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. I hope that was okay to do that there. Let's see here. Okay. So can you see that?
Yes, we can see it.
Okay. All right. So what I want to talk about is just how to exponentially increase conversions by using what we call just a simple stair-step retargeting campaign approach. And I'm just going to kind of walk you through what that looks like and how to set it up. It's really not very complicated at all, but it's easy to make it complicated, if that makes sense. And so let's just kind of dive into that. So I wanted to kind of show you all what retargeting can do to help your bottom line. So in this particular one, it's just kind of a screenshot of one of the ad accounts that I manage for a client. And when we started doing retargeting, and I wish you could see the dates on here. You can't see the dates on here, but that was their gross revenue just through retargeting campaigns. And this is for a life coach.
Wow.
Yeah. And that was just retargeting. So total revenue was probably around 5 million or something like that. Maybe. I can't remember exactly, but
that's crazy.
Yeah. So she sells a very high ticket type of offer. Right. And so just to kind of give you an idea, I specialize in helping service-based businesses, really, mostly So it's not just coaches. It just turns out that coaches tend to want to advertise on Facebook a lot. But mostly any service kind of business. And so just one thing I wanted to mention is retargeting doesn't have to net you to an extra $2 million to make it worth it. Okay. You can really, retargeting is a very inexpensive way to make ads work better. Because, and I'll get into it a little bit later, but because what retargeting really means is that we're going back after people who have already expressed some kind of interest, right?
Right.
So that's kind of the way I see it. So I always like to say this is just to keep it simple, because and I'd say this more for me than anybody else, because I like to get complicated. And I'm gonna show you something just real quick, okay? If I can here. Whoop, let me get out of that. So real quick, let me. Okay. So I don't know if you guys can see this or not, but this is how I feel about ads. So everybody, can y'all see that?
Yeah, say no to ad drama.
That's right. So we say no. So I send this cup out to everybody who becomes a client. It also says on this side, you don't have to read that, but it basically says 5 steps to create an ad that converts. And the first 4 steps are just technical stuff. And number 5 says skip steps 1 through 4 and hire me. I mean, that's how you do it. But I keep this whole, I know I'm trying to be silly. I don't know if it's working out. So we say no to ad drama because ads are only about 2 things. They're about math and drama, and that's it. That's the only thing that ads are about. Because we either don't have the math right, or we're trying to figure out the math part of it, or we're freaking out because it's not working the way that we think it needs to be working. So that if we can handle those 2 things, you can make your ads work. It's really, and I know that's an oversimplification, but I promise that's really the way it works. Okay. So let me go back here just real quick. And if I can. Okay. All right. So where we're going to start. All right. So again, what is retargeting? Well, retargeting is as simple as showing customized ads to, actually, let me do this real quick. I'm sorry.
It's all right.
Yeah, let me do that right there. Okay. So it's as simple as showing customized ads to somebody who is already engaged with your business, right? And so I want to talk a little bit about what that means. And give me just one second here. Sorry. Okay, there we go. So people who have engaged with your business, and we'll go through all the manners of how they could have engaged with your business, but it's simply it's people who maybe they visited your website, maybe they are on your email list, and I'm going to go through all the ways that you can do retargeting. But it's a chance to get your offer, your information, whatever it is you're wanting them to do. It's another chance to get in front of them, because as we all know, you have to get in front of people multiple times in order to really have an impact and make your ads work. Shotgun approaches, as we call them, where you're just trying to, run an ad and hope it works, spray and pray kind of thing, That's just not super effective. And it's even more so now, right? Because ad costs are going up, and I'll just let you in, they're probably not going to go down, at least not anytime soon. So the whole thing about it is that we need about 3 to 7 touches before people take action, right? They need to see your ad 3 to 7 times. Somewhere in that neighborhood is a good bet. And that's why retargeting is important. That one touch is difficult to turn into a high conversion on the back. It just is. I think we all know this, right? It's easier to convert a previous click than a new click, right? Isn't that the same for business though, right? It's easier to keep an existing client and try to find a new one. I mean, less expensive. It's the same principle. And so I told you I was going to keep this simple, and that's what I mean. That it's these simple things that tend to make these work. And then because we're already paying for a click to begin with, we're going to get more bang for our buck, because when we have somebody who clicked the first time, then the next time it's usually a much lower cost. So that helps us in the end. So I'm just going to tell you a little thing that happened, a few years ago. and I was going to run an ad campaign for this gentleman, and he had a friend that was going to do a joint venture with him and allow him to use his email list. And the email list was pretty big. It was like 80,000, something like that. And I asked him if we could have access to the list so we could retarget them. And the guy said, why would I give you access to my list to pay to run ads to people that are already there? Right. Mm-hmm. And it hit me right there of how many people have that kind of mindset. Right. They're like, oh, people are already on my email list. Well, I don't want to run retargeting ads. Why should I pay to run retargeting ads? And just to kind of give you some data on that. So emails are, open rates for emails are, some people are at, 8%. I've got some clients at 25%, but either way, let's just say it's 20%. Let's say your open rates on the emails are 20%. That means you have 80% of the people who never even opened up the email to begin with.
Right.
Right. So it doesn't mean that they're not interested. Right. It just means they didn't know about your message. And so that's where retargeting can come in and be super helpful. Okay. So anyway, I hope that made sense. So let's talk about, what we can retarget. Well, I've just talked about that, the email list, right? I think that's a huge one. And I think most people don't do enough of it. So a lot of people ask me, and, how many people do you have to have on your email list to be able to retarget and that kind of thing? And the answer is, it used to be you could literally retarget one person. I mean, you could upload their email list, and if Facebook could match it, you could retarget them. But now Facebook's very vague about how many people you need. So in general, you're probably going to have at least 100 people or so on your email list to make that work. Okay. The more people you have, the better off you are. But just know that that's probably about the number you're going to need.
So if it's less than 100, they won't allow it.
Well, it depends on how many's matching. Like they'll still show, like you still may be able to run the ad, but the ads may not actually show, if that makes sense. Does that okay? Yeah. Yeah, and it's a moving target too. So Facebook has changed it several times, and I don't think that anybody actually knows the number. The other thing to remember is that from your email list, so if you upload one, you're only probably going to match about 60%, sometimes 70, but 60% is a good number. So, and that's just simply because, me included, a lot of people use a different email for Facebook than they do to log, or, for their login than they do when they get on an email list. You can't match those as well. Right. So, yeah. But still, I mean, even so, there's power in retargeting your email list. So the next thing is you can retarget your Facebook followers, Instagram followers, post engagement. Those kind of things can all be retargeted. And let me just be clear on that when I talk about Facebook, I'm talking about people who have liked your business page, not your personal page. Okay. So you can only retarget the people who've liked your business page or have somehow otherwise engaged in it. But nevertheless, those people are available. And you can also create similar audiences to people who have liked your page, just like you can your email list, what we call a lookalike audience, right? And so what happens is we feed Facebook the data. We tell them, hey, create an audience of people, a big audience of people, like 1 million people, similar to people who are on my email list or similar to people who like my business page. And then so Facebook will go out and it will search for all the data points that it has and try to find as many people as it can that meet that criteria. So it's a very useful thing to help with targeting, if that makes sense.
So it doesn't have to be people that you made contact with already, but it could be similar to that.
That's right. And so but remember, it's garbage in, garbage out. or that's how we say it. Okay. So if you have kind of a bad email list, like if it's not really a good email list, then you're going to get a bad lookalike audience. But if it's if your email list is very good, it's a highly engaged list or highly targeted email list, and you send that information to Facebook, then there's a good chance you're going to get a similar audience of those people that you can target with your ads. Now, that's not really a retargeting ad, but I still think it's worth mentioning. Okay.
Yes, that was a great tip. Thank you.
So, and you can also do it with these other ones I'm going to mention as well. But video views is something else that's really effective too. And video view, so a lot of people are doing Facebook Lives and that kind of thing. So if you do that from your business page, then you can retarget people who watch, 3 seconds of it, 10 seconds, 25%, 50%, 75%. I mean, you get the gist of it. So you could literally retarget only the people who watch the whole video, right? So if you did a Facebook Live, and let's just say it was 15 minutes, and you set up a retargeting audience to run an ad only to people who watch the whole thing. Well, how much better is that than somebody who only watched 3 seconds, right? Somebody who watched all 15 minutes of whatever it is you were trying to say is probably into whatever you're saying.
Yeah.
Right. And so it's super effective. And it's really inexpensive because Facebook favors video when it comes to just pushing stuff out into the news feed. And so you're much more likely to get video views at a lot lower cost, and then in turn be able to retarget those people. Yeah. So, and you can actually do, when I start talking about the stair step process, you can actually do that with video views too. And I can show y'all how to do that. It's really simple.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right. So this is what we're going to talk about for the most part is website traffic. Okay. And this is where the Facebook pixel comes in. So I know everybody's probably either not familiar at all with the pixel, or they know a little bit about the pixel. Maybe some of y'all know a lot more than I do about the pixel, but the pixel is just a piece of code that you get from Facebook and put it on your website. Okay. And it's pretty simple to install. You don't have to know how to write code or anything like that. It's just a copy it from Facebook, and then you paste it where it needs to go on your website. And then it tracks people who visit your website. And if you install it correctly, it should track every page of your website. And why that's important is you might want to retarget people that visited certain pages of your website, but not others.
Yeah.
So, like somebody who visited a sales page or an add to cart page, you might want to retarget them with a certain type of ad versus somebody who just visited the home page. Okay. Yeah. And pixels are not unlike, we've called them different things over the years, but cookies, cookies is the same difference as far as we're concerned. It's what a pixel is. So it's just a way for Facebook to track you. And then it feeds the information back to Facebook so that you can do these retargeting campaigns or whatever. And so that's really how it works. And that's exactly what we're going to be talking about. So, and I don't know if this is a good place or not, but if anybody has any questions on that, y'all just let me know, and I'll be happy to answer them as we go through.
Yes, certainly let you know.
All right. So what does retargeting look like? Well, this is basically what it looks like. Somebody visits, you have a visitor, they visit your website, and then they leave, right? And so then we retarget them, and we show another ad on other sites or on your own site or in Facebook, right? And then the visitor returns back to your site. Okay. So that last little circle isn't exactly accurate. It's just we're going to show the visitor leaves, and then we're going to show another ad on Facebook right there. And then they're going to return back to the initial site. So it's just a cycle, right? Once they enter in your cycle, that's how it'll go. And that could go on indefinitely. Well, I say indefinitely. The pixel currently has a limitation where if somebody visited your website and you were retargeting them, you're only able to retarget them for up to 180 days unless they visit again. Okay, so I said indefinitely.
That's good to know.
Yeah. But the truth of the matter is that and it depends on the offer too, but most of the time that's enough to get the sale, right? Or they're never going to buy. It's like one or the other. Okay. And so, but anyway, it's a pretty simple process. And so I'm really going to talk a little bit about how we set this up. Okay. Because I think this is where the confusion, I mean, maybe I'm wrong. Okay. But it seems like this is where the confusion comes in, because it seems like it's harder to set up than it actually is. So I'm gonna actually show you what that all looks like so that you can do it the right way, and then show you the process.
Right. Because some people might be afraid that it's very technical and hard to set up. Yeah.
That's exactly right. And that's too bad, because it'll keep you from getting kind of results that you want. But I tell you, if you can run a Facebook ad, like if you've ever ran a Facebook ad, you can do retargeting. I promise. It's just a little bit. It's just a couple of extra steps is all, and so in the slides and stuff. So I hope everybody gets to see the slides and everything. But it'll show you exactly how to do it. Okay, without making it overly difficult. So the first thing that we do is we have to create what we call a custom audience. And so a custom audience is, and I think, let me just I'm going to kind of do this out of order, but I think I want to show you this. Okay. So this is the Facebook inside the ads manager. And please don't get caught up in all the numbers and all this other stuff. You know, your account may not look like that. I just have this is a test account, but I have some data in here. So when you're in your ads manager, you have an opportunity to create an audience, and one of them is called a custom audience. And this is where we're able to choose what our source is. Now, remember, I was talking about email lists. Well, if I was doing an email list, customer list, right? If I was doing Facebook page, there it is, right? Instagram. I mean, you can see that, right? Or the video views, like I was talking about. But in this case, we're talking about website activity, okay? And so once we do that, then we select our custom audience in our ad set. Okay. Now our ad set's where we input our targeting. It's where you input your budget, those kinds of things. Okay. So like you might I'm just throwing this out there, but maybe you're targeting Tony Robbins, right? For whatever reason. And instead of targeting Tony, you're just going to select your custom audience that you just made. That's all. So it's not too bad. So the other thing that we want to do though is we want to exclude any other custom audiences if it's applicable, and that'll make more sense as we go through and I'll show you how to set the rest of this up. Okay, but the gist of it is that if you're if we're running an ad and somebody's already taken a certain action, or we don't necessarily want to keep showing them that ad, we might want to show them a different ad, if they took one action or not the other, and vice versa. That's where it all gets complicated, right? You could just do that out to infinity, right? They took this action or that action, or looked at this, they clicked on this button, but not that button, or whatever, scrolled this far down or not. I mean, it's just too many variations there. So this is kind of what I was showing you before. So you guys will have this, but you go to your create an audience and website. And then when you do that, and I'm going to show you this more in real time, it'll look like this, right? And we select, let me show you here, if it'll let me. It'll show the pixel, whatever you named your pixel, okay? And then what do we want to target? Well, we want to, we may want to retarget all our website visitors, right? Like it says right there. Or maybe we only want people who visited specific pages, right? Or Maybe we want how long they spent, right, on any page, right? And so those are options that you have. For the most part, we target people who visited specific pages because, as we talked before, somebody who visited the landing page or the home page may not be the same as somebody who visited the sales page.
So this is where you can get really specific about.
That's right. But you can also get caught up in it too. So again, I'm going to show you how to set this up for the type of retargeting that we're going to be doing. And then we also have our retention. Retention is just how long do they remain in that audience, right? And this is where I was telling you can only do 180 days. Okay. And then right here we put in the URL or part of the URL that we want to retarget, or we want to build the retargeting audience from. Okay. And so this is kind of what it looks like when we do it. So let me jump back here real quick. So once I told you that we had to put it in the ad set, right? So let me just jump back here. So you can see I created this one right here. It's called 5-day retargeting audience, right? I created that one right there. And so when I go to create my actual ad and I'm selecting my audiences, I just click on custom audience and 5-day retargeting audience is right there. And I just select it. And now I'll be targeting that audience. Okay. And so in this particular case, we're talking about doing a 5-day, 10-day, and 15-day retargeting audience. So that means anybody who visited in the last 5 days, or anybody who visited the last 10 days or the last 15 days. Okay. And before I show you how to kind of set those up and actually use those, I just kind of want to mention this to you. So the 5-day retargeting audience, I just kind of want to talk about what it's good for and what kind of ads to run.
Okay.
If that makes sense. And sorry, I tend to go through this stuff kind of fast. I hope that's okay. So you just let me know if I need to slow down or something.
It's all good.
Okay. So the 5-day retargeting audience, you can keep it really simple with that. You can show them the same exact ad if you want. If you want to keep it that simple, you certainly can. So you create your 5-day retargeting audience, and then you start running ads to everybody who's seen it within the last 5 days. And it could be as simple as the same exact ad because that's the ad that they clicked on the first time, right? It doesn't have to be super original to make it work. Repetition is marketing, right? You just like there's this guy on YouTube, which I don't that shows up in every video, that I watch on YouTube. And it's not something I would be interested in. But I have seen that ad so many times that ultimately it wore me down and I clicked on it, right? Even though I wasn't interested in it. And so that's kind of the premise behind this. So the more you can be in front of them, the better your chances of getting them to take action and convert.
Can you explain a little more about what do you mean about the original ad?
Yeah. So I just meant like if you ran a specific ad to somebody, you set up your ad and your ad copy and your image or a video, let's say, you can just show them that same ad again.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. So something that you've shown them before already.
That's right. It's just the difference is because you set up a retargeting on it, they're going to see it, right? If you were targeting cold traffic initially, which you probably were, then you don't know that they're going to see that ad again. But with retargeting, you're pretty good bet they're going to see it again.
Right.
Now, you don't have to do your original ad. You can do what we call a second chance ad. Hey, here's a second chance to take a look at whatever it is. And you do that by either offering a discount or having some other urgency to get them to take action. Okay. And then the way that I prefer is we start off the ad by saying, hey, we noticed you eyeing, and we use the eye emoji just like you see there. Yes, I realize that that's cheesy. I get that. Okay. But you have to understand with Facebook, the context. So Facebook, people aren't on Facebook to buy stuff, right? They're on Facebook to escape. to look at what their brother's, uncle did, last weekend, right? Or whatever it is. They're not there to do business necessarily. And they're definitely not there to look at ads. So having some shock value is beneficial. And by calling them out in a way that's not overbearing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, hey, I saw you looked at my ad and you clicked on it, but you didn't buy one. I mean, I've seen those, right?
Yeah.
Actually, the truth was told, I've actually run ads like that before, but they're not effective. But this gives you an opportunity to kind of be playful with it. And I don't care what niche, I shouldn't say I don't care, but most of the time, regardless of the niche that you're in, and by the way, I know it's probably pronounced niche, but that's just not how we say it here. So, but regardless of that, having something that's different than what they're seeing all the time is a way to interrupt their pattern. And that's part of how ads work. Like you want to be able to interrupt it and give them something else to focus on. And that's a good way to do it. So I thought I'd throw that in there.
So are these the four types of ads that we can use during a 5-day retargeting?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
If you want to keep it super simple, just use the same ad that you ran originally and see how it works, right?
Mm-hmm.
And once the cool thing about retargeting is it's super inexpensive. Right? Like most of the time for most people, unless you're running huge amounts of traffic, you could retarget for $2 a day. I don't know, under $5 a day for sure. That's most
for people. How big of an audience would that be?
Well, it depends. Okay. And it depends on the type of audience too, because some audiences are more expensive than others based on where they came from.
Mm-hmm.
That's just the way Facebook algorithm works. So it really depends. But you can still, I mean, with that, you could still show it to, let's just say you had 1,000 people visit your website or visit the landing page. You could still get in front of them for that.
Got it.
Yeah. So there's some things that you can do to kind of help that along. But I would have to say that and show that another time. But for now, I mean, this will work just fine. Mm-hmm. Okay, so then the next part of the stair step is the 10-day retargeting ad, right? So, and if you look at the bottom, I say exclude the 5-day audience. So these are people who saw it within the last 10 days, saw the original, they clicked on the original ad in the last 10 days, but not within the last 5. Okay, because I don't want the people who are seeing the 5-day ads seeing the 10-day ads too.
Is this to help prevent ad fatigue, or is it another reason?
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's part of it, and they have a different purpose.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so when somebody clicks on the ad the first time, those people are the lowest hanging fruit, right? And so that's why it's okay to run the same ad back to them on the 5-day ad, because they clicked on it once. Maybe they just got disrupted because their dog started chasing a rabbit out in the yard like mine did earlier, or whatever. They just got distracted. Maybe that's all it was. And they just needed to see that same ad again. Right. So the thought process here on the 10-day is, okay, well, they didn't respond from the initial click, or they didn't take enough action on the initial click. They didn't take action on the 5-day retargeting audience. Let's disrupt their pattern again, right? By showing them something different. Mm-hmm. Okay. Now, depending on what you offer, what you sell or whatever it is, you can do testimonials or case studies. Those are highly effective. Now you have to be careful with them, especially depending on what your offer is. And I say that because I don't know what everybody does specifically, but like health coaches, because I told you I work with health coaches too, they often want to do before and after pictures and stuff like that, which you can't do that, right? You also can't say, my client such and such made $2 million, in 2 weeks, right? You can't do that. But you can still give a really good testimonial without being sensational, if that makes sense. And so that's what we try to do. We try to make it real. And by the way, real works on Facebook. So I come from the background. I initially started doing a lot of copywriting, long form, direct mail copywriting.
Mm-hmm.
Most of that back in the day was, a very, just hypey kind of marketing. Okay. And with Facebook, you don't have to do that. You can do it, but you don't have to be hypey to make your ads work.
So in Facebook ads, you can just be very personable. Like you can just use your iPhone and make a video out of it.
Yeah. You certainly can. So as opposed to now I do YouTube ads too. Like I do almost ads almost everywhere. But like with YouTube, you're much better off having a very professional type video.
Mm-hmm.
You can make a non-professional video work, but the ones that tend to convert the best are more professional. And it doesn't have to be like high production, but just a little more professional. But on Facebook, again, it's the context, right? People are expecting to see their mom or, their aunt on there, and that's what they're expecting to see. So when we record a video just holding our iPhone up, that's a good thing because that's how they see everybody else, right? It doesn't seem like an ad. And that's kind of the goal. You don't want it to seem like an ad, right? Mm-hmm. You want them to have already watched, 45 seconds of it before they realize it was an ad, right? And so you're exactly right.
Right. I see Kadila has a few questions. Do you want to answer them now or later?
Yeah, we'll answer them. Let's go for it.
Okay. Does Facebook know they visited your website based on the pixel?
Yeah. Yes. Now there are exceptions to that, right? So you can have pixel blockers that may block the pixel from firing, so Facebook may not know. And part of it depends on where they're coming from, right? So, in other words, if you're logged into Facebook on your phone currently, now these things will change because that's the nature of this business. But currently, if you're logged into Facebook on your phone and you visit a website and they have the Facebook pixel, Facebook will be able to track that. Okay, but let's just say you weren't logged into Facebook, then they can't track it.
Okay, so only when you're logged in.
Yeah.
Okay.
When it can get the information, that's basically it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Does the concept of campaign budget optimization versus advertising budget optimization play into retargeting? Yeah. And she's still learning.
Yeah, great question. We're all still learning. That's the thing, right? It's just the way it is.
Yeah.
I wish I knew everything, but I don't. Actually, I don't wish I knew everything. Anyway. So campaign budget optimization, just for some context, every other platform does. We abbreviate it CBO. Okay, that's just what you call it. So every other platform uses CBO. Really, Facebook's just kind of late to the game with it, and so in what you're asking for retargeting, no, CBO is not. You're not going to use CBO at all. And you're just going to do it in the ad set. At some point, though, Facebook's going to force everybody to use CBO anyway. But right now, there's no need to. You just set it at the ad set level like you're asking.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. She has another question about YouTube videos.
Yeah.
Can someone with a low budget make a professional YouTube video?
Yeah. So I'm a done is better than perfect kind of person. Right. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people are not going to like this, or some people may not like this, but what we're looking for most of the time is B- work. We're not looking for A+ work. Okay. And the reason is simple. It takes too long to get things to be A+, and you could have tested 10 other things in between that time and see, because the reality of it is it doesn't matter what I think. It doesn't matter. I've had ads I thought for sure would be amazing, and they tanked, and then I've had ads that I thought, well, no way they're going to work, and they worked. The audience decides, right?
I've heard that some professionally done videos actually don't do as well than just really personable videos, actually.
Yeah, and you're right. They do. That's 100% true, right?
Mm-hmm.
So here's what happens. The more personal videos, though, what we often don't see is that they come on and go off so fast because it's easy to burn through budget with them. So we don't get to see them for very long. People who have high production videos tend to have money to spend on them, so they run longer even if they're not working. That's just what happens. So to kind of answer the question, though, yeah, you can still make a low budget professional video, and how you do it is simple. I mean, part of it depends on what your offer is, right? So that kind of plays into it. But like for me, okay, if I was doing one, so I could do one with this kind of background. You want to be just a little bit offset, like you don't want to be right facing the camera, right? You want to be a little offset one side or the other, but you talk into the camera, okay? Because eye contact will hold people's attention. And so then if you can just, do just a little bit of editing. And when I say editing, you don't have to be a professional editor, or you could hire somebody on Fiverr to do it, and you just edit some things in between so that you have some cutaways, right? Because if you do a 2 or 3 minute video, that's okay if it's super compelling, but more often than not, you need to cut away from yourself for a minute or for a few seconds so that it kind of jolts them back to pay attention, okay? Or else you're going to lose them. Like, I don't want to sit here and talk. And I mean, I would have a 3 minute video, but I don't want to sit here, you looking at me for 3 minutes. And that's just not going to work. I know I'm just hilarious, but you're not going to watch me for 3 minutes.
So like in the videos, you suggest to like add some other images or some reel. Yeah. Got it.
Just the best thing I can tell you is that you can do it from your computer or your iPhone or whatever. Just have a nice background, okay? And make sure that the audio quality is good. People will forgive bad video, but they will not forgive bad audio. Okay, if they can't hear you very well, I understand what you're saying very well, that's bad. Okay.
Yeah, it's really hard. If it's really hard to hear, then you just can't watch it.
Yeah, 100%. And that's true with Facebook, or I mean, it doesn't matter where the ads are running. That's true. So.
All right.
Was there another one?
Yeah, she has another one. You want to go for it?
Go for it. Yeah.
Okay. So for a B effort, can you just use the same video for both platforms, or use some of the YouTube and repurpose for Facebook? And how should a Facebook video be versus YouTube?
Yeah, and so those are all good questions, or those are both good questions too. So the answer, technically, I mean, if I had let me back up. So speed is going to trump everything else. So if it's going to be fast for you to get one video done and put them on both, then that's what I would do, right? If it's going to take you a lot longer to do two separate ones, yeah, just do the one and run it and see what happens. Again, it's the audience is going to tell you if it's working or not. You can test against it later. But when you're running the ad for the first time, you're just trying to establish a control to measure your ads against any other ads that you run. So the short answer is yeah, just repurpose it up front. Okay, get it done, get it out there, get some data, and then come back and revisit whether you want to change it or not. The biggest part of the biggest difference is people on Facebook don't consume while they're on Facebook the same way that they do when they're on YouTube. On YouTube, they're generally searching for something, how to do something, right? Not all the time. Listen to music or whatever it is, but that's generally the way it works. As to how long they should be, so that's a great question right there. Again, it depends on what the purpose of the video is. So I have one client. In fact, the client that I was showing the $2 million at the beginning, I told her not to do this. Okay, and I was wrong. I want to admit I was wrong. I told her not to do this, but she wanted to run a 20-minute Facebook or a 20-minute video, run Facebook ads to it. And that was one of our highest converting ads that she's ever had before or since. And I told her not to do it, not because I thought it was too long, but because our intent wasn't to educate. Like, we were trying to get them to take action. So the video, if your intent is just to try to educate, maybe you're just trying to warm your audience up or brand yourself a little, maybe if that's your only, then it can be as long as you want it to be, as long as it needs to be, as long it's going to hold their attention, right? So if you're just rambling on and on and on, kind of like I'm doing now, then that's not, that's not going to be super effective. So that being said, if you're trying to drive a quick hit or something like that, I generally want them to be at a minimum 30 seconds. And I'm just talking about Facebook, at least 30 seconds, and then usually no more than like 3 or 4 minutes. Okay, that's a good rule of thumb, and that's as true for YouTube as well. Okay, so but again, part of it depends. Like if you're selling socks, right? Then okay, that's different, right? 10, 15 seconds, fine. I mean, but there's not a high threshold for trust, because the whole point of the video is to build know, like, and trust.
Right.
I mean, that's what you're trying to do. With socks, you don't have to do that. But when you got a $5,000 coaching offer, well, you're gonna have to do that, and so you need to take as much time as you need to.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you for answering all those questions. Yeah. And ideally, you can let us know what niche you're in or what industry you're in.
Yeah. Let me. I'm going to jump back to the 10-day retargeting real quick. Okay. So we can kind of.
Sounds great.
Go through it. So the other things that you can do is a demonstration type video. If you have a product or something that you want to demonstrate how it works, you can also do a second viewpoint. Like sometimes people will do an interview. Like you can be interviewed, or you can interview somebody else about whatever it is that you have, or a multiple product display. So you can run what we call carousel ads. It'll show multiple products. Or you can show multiple testimonials. I have clients that do that show multiple testimonials in one ad, right? And people can select which ones they want to choose.
Do you want to share your screen again?
Oh, man, I'm so sorry.
It's all right.
Why didn't you say, hey, Ben, share your screen? What are you doing? I'm so sorry. So, yeah, let me do that real quick.
All right.
Yeah, so I was just talking about these last 3 bullet points: the demonstration, the second viewpoint, and then multiple product display. Okay. So then after the 10-day, there's the 15-day retargeting audience. And so why did I choose these numbers? And these numbers may vary, right? Like if you don't have very many people coming to your page, you may need to do different numbers. You might need to do a 20-day, 30-day and 40-day, right? Or something like that. It just depends on how many people are coming to your site. 5, 10, and 15 are just a good starting point. Because generally speaking, the people, if they haven't responded in the first 15 days, it's a lot more difficult to convert. That's just the way it is. But with a 15-day audience, then you can give them a last chance, what we call a fence jumper ad. Like they're getting ready to jump the fence and run, right? They've seen enough of you. They're getting ready to run. So you want to throw your very last offer that you can. This is the last chance you can get it. This is the lowest price you can ever get it, or whatever. And you can actually use the same ad as you did in the beginning for 15-day. All you want to do is just tweak the copy to talk about it's a last chance or lower offer or something like that.
Right.
And then you're going to exclude the 10-day audience, right? So you want people who visited in the last 15 days, but not the last 10. Okay, that's how the exclusions work. So hopefully that helps a little. And then let me kind of show you what that looks like. So I was showing this before. So we were saying, okay, well, in the 5-day audience, in the custom audience, we're going to select that 5-day targeting one that audience that I created right here. We're selecting that in our ad set. Right now, if it's a 10-day, so we're going to include the 10-day audience, but we're going to exclude the 5-day. So here, see, I created this 10-day retargeting audience, and I said, okay, I want to include the 10-day retargeting audience, but exclude. See where it says exclude here? Exclude everybody who's visited in the last 5 days. And then the same way on the 15-day and the 10-day, everybody who's visited in the last 15, but not the last 10. Okay. So let me just talk real quick about 3 tips for ads that convert. Number 1's targeting. Look, targeting, this is for your cold traffic, right? So the people that are coming in the cold targeting, you want to do your audience research. I don't know why people don't do this, because this is really the key, right? It doesn't matter how awesome your ad is if you're not targeting the right people. I mean, if it's the wrong people, you're never going to get it to work. And so most people don't. Most of my clients, when they come to me, they'll say, I'm my own client. Like, I know myself, I'm my own client, so that's who I want to target. And that's a bad way to approach it. You want to do audience research on what your clients, your potential audience, who they follow, what they watch, where they visit, what their demographics are, anything, what books they read, those kind of things, so that you can start to develop a persona, and then go out and find the specific targeting options that are going to help your ads convert.
And where can people go to do this type of research?
So you can currently you can do it on Facebook, although some of their stuff, they're changing up their tools. But simple ways to do it is go to Amazon, right? Go to Amazon and type in what you think your ideal audience might be reading, right? And then go read the reviews. Go read as many reviews as you can find on it, and see what they're saying. And that'll give you a really good indication. You can also do just Google searches, and then once you do the Google search for the same thing, you just on the first page, that's usually enough. You can just go through each website and see who they're talking to and see what they reference. Okay. The other thing is if you can find a Facebook group where your ideal audience is likely to be, join it and see what they're saying. And they'll tell you. I mean, they'll reveal themselves if you just go to those places.
Okay. Dealer has a question about this topic.
Yeah.
Okay. Is there a way to determine where your audience is and who they are based on competitors?
Not from inside Facebook. I mean, there's technically no, not really. I mean, the cool thing about Facebook, though, is it has interest-based targeting. So if your competitors are targetable, then yeah, right? So that you're essentially targeting them anyway. But if they're not, then there's not a specific tool that you can use to do that. Okay. I mean, not inside Facebook. There's third-party tools out there, but frankly, most of those are used by higher-end media buyers and stuff, because they're kind of pricey.
Okay.
And so, yeah. So let me share again. Sorry, I'll have to remember to do that. Okay, maybe I shouldn't have stopped sharing there. Okay, so targeting, then a compelling image. So the thing is if you don't have a compelling image, then you're not going to get them to stop the scroll. Okay, you have to have a compelling image, and the images don't always need to be congruent with whatever it is that you're trying to say in the ad. You can try it both ways. Okay, you can try some images without and some with. The reason I didn't put video here is because depending on what you're doing, like we do a lot of master classes, webinars and that kind of thing. And videos tend not to convert as well as images do. They don't. We've tested and tested and tested. But for other things, videos are good. So I'm just trying to stick with the theme on the images for here, okay? But the compelling image with high contrast. So I'm going to kind of give you guys a pro tip for a good image. So whatever the image is, increase the contrast by up to 40%. And if you will do that, so you can do that in the most image editors, will let you do that. Simple editors will let you do that. And you have to look at it. You may not be able to go all the way up to 40% because it might look crazy. So you have to use your own judgment there. But the reason is that'll help the contrast of the colors pop out on their phone, and it'll catch their eye. Okay.
Can you further explain about this?
Yeah.
Or maybe do you have a example?
Yeah, I was going to try to find. I'm sorry I didn't have one handy for you, but if I can find one real quick, I will in just a second. I used to have this one that I used for the longest time. Let me show you this. Okay, can you see that?
Yeah.
Okay, so you can see this is a high contrast image, right? And so when I can't increase the contrast here inside this editor, although I probably can in Pixlr. Let's see if I can do that. But it's that type of image that I'm talking, or that type of contrast that I'm talking about. Because when you're scrolling through your feed, that's what will get people to stop. Okay. As opposed to just some kind of generic image. The other thing is that you might want to think about is people connect with people. So if you're like, oh, I don't know how to do the contrast or how to pick good images, use yourself. Put yourself in the image. It's okay to do that. I mean, a lot of people don't do it, but that's what people are doing. They're looking at other people on Facebook. And if your goal is to make it not look like an ad, well, then what's less like an ad? Putting yourself out there. Okay. Does that help a little?
So the less it looks like an ad, the more people would be open to opening it.
That's right. You need to you go one of two ways. You either make it look like an ad, there's no mistake it's an ad, or make it try to not look like an ad. Don't be in between.
Okay.
Either go for it or stay out. It's one or the other. And listen, I can do more on images and stuff like that. I knew we were kind of running short on time, or I didn't want to, I didn't know what the time frame was. So that being said, so the next thing is ad copy. So this is, listen, with Facebook, now I'm not talking about Instagram, because Instagram's different, because you don't necessarily have to read the copy, so the image has to tell the story. But with Facebook, ad copy is huge, and it's going to be even bigger going forward. I've done ad copy where we would put, 1,000, 1,500 words, easy. And the reason is because if you tell a compelling story and somebody reads that story, then whatever it is you're selling, they're going to buy. Right? They're going to opt in. They're going to take action. Now, and you can test short copy versus long copy, but you want to write really good copy. And if I could impart any one skill to help make your Facebook ads convert better, it's learning how to write better copy. And so there's a book that I suggest. Excuse me. There's all kinds of courses and stuff out there. I'm sorry.
It's all right.
Yeah, out there. But one of the best books out there is the Ad Week Copywriting Handbook by Joe Sugarman. It's a very good desk reference. I keep it near me. It's just sitting right here on my shelf. I actually send it out to my clients. You know how I told you I send out that mug, the Say No to Ad Drop. I send them 3 books, and that's one of them. Because ad copy is it'll help you in every area of your advertising, not just Facebook ads. It'll help you with writing scripts for, YouTube. It'll help you with website, what you want to send on your website. It'll help in your emails, whatever it is.
Can you repeat the name of the book again?
Yeah, it's the Ad Week.
The Ad Week.
Ad Week Copywriting Handbook by Joe Sugarman. And for those of y'all that are old enough to remember blue blockers, the ads that used to be on TV about blue blocker sunglasses, well, that's the blue blocker guy. So if you don't remember that, that's okay too.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
All right, so that's it on what I have. And I just didn't know if anybody else had any questions on this.
Yeah, Kadila shares some more questions.
Okay, sure.
Okay. When you say use images, do you mean static images versus using a video with carousel images?
Yeah, so the Facebook reps love for you to use carousel, right? But frankly, I haven't ever seen that convert better. I cannot name one example where I can see that it converts. It's like I was telling you, I have a client that we run testimonials on it, but it's really more a branding thing versus a conversion. So a lot of it depends on the purpose of the ad. And yes, I do mean static pictures versus using video with or without carousel of images. Either way, static images, they're the easiest to do, right? And all the hype comes from video. And yeah, I've got video ads that I run that work great. I wouldn't change them for the world. I just try to have people keep it simple. Okay. Because it's on video, it's easy to make a mistake. that's hard to correct if it's not converting. With image ads and copy, it's easy to fix.
Mm-hmm.
Make a mistake. So
especially if someone's just starting out, it's best
Yeah.
to keep it simple.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of people are afraid of video anyway.
Right.
For one reason or another, and that's okay.
Mm-hmm. Okay, her next question. So she's in kitchen gadgets. Any tips for newbies doing ads to a cold audience and the 5-day retargeting, such as basic fundamentals, best practices for B-level ads, such as urgency, short, and shock value?
Yeah. So from that standpoint, it depends on where the offers are going to look like for that. So from a best practices standpoint is what we do is what we call a 5x3 campaign. Okay. Where we have one campaign with 5 different targeting options. So 5 ad sets, and inside each of those ad sets, there's 3 ads. Right now, if your budget doesn't allow for that, that's okay. Right. Keep it simple, but make them 3. What you're trying to do is test something in those ads, right? Like you want to test the images, or you want to test the copy, but you don't want to do both at the same time because you're trying to figure out what's working and what's not.
Right.
And short copy's fine. Sometimes, like for what you're talking about, it may just be a demonstration that you need, right? If you can demonstrate what it does, that's super powerful. You don't need anything else, right? You don't need to use the images.
Mm-hmm.
So it really kind of depends on what it does, I guess. But if that's what I would do. I would try to do a demonstration video if that were possible.
Okay. And go back. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to tell you, if you guys want to see this, you may know this already, but I can show you how to look up other ads, right? Like if you have a competitor, and if you want to see if they're running ads and you want to take a look at their ads, you can look them up. If you want, if that's helpful to you. You don't know if they're working,
Mm-hmm.
right? But you can look them up, and I'll show you this real quick. Okay.
Okay.
So let's see here.
Let's do it.
All right, 1 sec. We'll do it. Okay. Okay. Can you see Tony?
Yes.
All right. So this is Tony's business page, right? And so you can do this with anybody's page who's running ads or whatever. So you just scroll down on this side, on the left side of the page a little bit, and we're looking for this thing that says page transparency. Okay. And then you click see all. And then when you scroll down a little bit, it'll say ads from this page, and it'll say this page is currently running ads. So they're running ads. And then if you click on the go to ad library, and by the way, you can go directly, you could type in this right here and go directly to their library and the URL. Mm-hmm. You don't have to go to their page. But then you can sort by, location, and then you can see what ads they're running, right? These are the ads that Tony's running. So these ads just started. It says April 20th. So, they don't even know if they're working yet, right? But you can scroll down, and these been running since the 14th, and you can just kind of look through them. And so again, I don't encourage you to say, oh, okay, if they're running an ad, it must be working. Well, you don't know that. But if you're trying to get an idea of your target audience and what your competitors are saying to your target audience and how you can differentiate yourself, well, this is a great place to do it.
So you can get some inspiration from here.
That's right. Mm-hmm. That's right. And the inspiration and your unique selling proposition, right? So how you're different than everybody else, or, that kind of thing. And just as a side note to talking about ad copy. So, and this goes through cycles, but one of the best words to use is new, this brand new training, this brand new thing, right? Because people want something new. New and free are usually a good thing, but free, sometimes if you put free in the copy in Facebook, like if you're running a free, you're trying to get somebody to download something for free, so they'll get on your email list. sometimes those will cost more now. So you have to be careful with it. But running new or doing a contrarian ad, like if all your competitors are saying this, then you say the exact opposite of what they're saying, right? And those are highly effective. But anyway, you can see he's got tons of ads to there. You could scroll through a bunch of these if you wanted to.
Yeah.
So, but you can do that with any of your people. Yeah, competitors.
Okay, just one last question because we're running out of time. With just using the picture, will it like put a lot of pressure on that one picture?
Doesn't put a lot of pressure on it. So that's kind of why I said, we do a 5x3. So you put three different ads, with 3 different images, same copy. But remember, it depends on what the goal of the ad is, right? So your goal with kitchen gadgets may be different than my goal with trying to get people to sign up for a master class, right? So we're talking about 2 different kind of things. So it depends on the picture. Again, if you have a way to show a demonstration, that's perfect. If you're just trying to show a picture of of whatever it is, yeah, that's certainly fine. And so, I wasn't trying to discourage carousel ads in general. I just meant that using them for what we use them for is usually not effective. So that being said, what other way are you going to test it if you don't use one at a time, right? If you want to put them all together, so if you're trying to advertise too many things in one ad, then you'll probably get no decision, right? That's what happens versus trying to do one thing at a time. And you can use what we call dynamic ads. So dynamic ads, which it's just a little more complicated, which is not that bad, but you can put in multiple images, and then Facebook will rotate through the images for you. But you have to be able to drive enough traffic to get enough data for Facebook to go through all the images. So the ad spend is usually higher to do it that way. It's not that you can't, though. You certainly can. The other downside is if you find out that one image is working versus the other, you can't just take out one image. You have to stop that ad and start a new one. So any social proof you would have accumulated on that ad won't carry over. So,
got it.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ben, tonight for everything that you've taught us and all the tips. So to wrap things up, where can we find you to learn more about what you have to teach us?
Yeah. And listen, I promise this is the last time I'm going to share screen stuff. But here's just so you know, so if you want to check out the podcast, it's Facebook Ads with a Twang, and you can go to the usual places there. And you can go to onefocusmarketing.com or email me, Ben at One Focus Marketing, or just message me on Facebook. So this is what I tell everybody, is that the good thing about doing Facebook ads is I'm on Facebook all the time. But the bad thing about doing Facebook ads is that I'm on Facebook all the time. So I just encourage people to message me there because that's where you're going to catch up with me. I just despise email, and I only check it about once a day or once every other day. So
wonderful.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone who joined us tonight. So check out Ben's podcast and connect with him on Facebook. Thank you, everyone, and have a good night.
Much. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Have a wonderful night.